Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. Children laughed as they chased each other, the smell of caramel apples and hay bales wafting through the air. But just a few blocks away, the tranquility that blanketed the town was about to be shattered. At around 7:30 p.m., local law enforcement received a frantic call from a worried citizen. The caller, Mrs. Ellen Harper, had stumbled upon something unsettling while walking her dog along the popular trail that wound through the woods just beyond the festival. Her voice quavered as she described what she had found: a bicycle, oddly placed against a tree, with no sign of its owner. Officer Mark Simmons, a seasoned member of the Weston Police Department, was dispatched to the scene. The fading daylight cast long shadows through the dense trees as he navigated the narrow path. The vibrant sounds of the festival faded, replaced by the rustling leaves and the distant croak of frogs. Arriving at the spot marked by Mrs. Harper, Officer Simmons noted the peculiar absence of foot traffic at this hour. The bike, a bright red hybrid with scuffed handlebars, looked out of place, abandoned amid the stillness. He crouched, examining the area closely. No helmet in sight, no personal belongings. Something felt wrong. An instinct whispered that this was more than a simple case of a lost bicycle. As the darkness deepened, Simmons pushed aside the nagging thought of the festival, its laughter growing ever more distant as he began to unravel the threads of what appeared to be the beginning of a darker tale. The victim. The following morning, the tranquility of Weston was pierced by the news that spread like wildfire. The bright red bicycle belonged to 16-year-old Mia Roberts, a spirited girl known for her infectious laughter and determination. The entire town had watched her grow up, from the little girl who sold lemonade at the park to the aspiring artist whose murals brightened the main street. Mia had gone missing after leaving her house the previous evening, eager to meet friends at the festival. When she failed to return, her mother, Laura, became friends and family had gathered after she failed to respond to their texts. But no one had anticipated how quickly those moments of laughter could transition to tense worry. As Officer Simmons continued his investigation at the trailhead, family members filled the yard of the Roberts home. Laura sat on the porch, her eyes red and puffy, the worry etched deep in her features. She wouldn't just run away, Laura insisted to the onlookers, her voice trembling. She has dreams. She was supposed to start art classes next week. At school, Mia's art teacher, Mr. Galbraith, recalled her infectious creativity. She had so much potential. Just last week, she painted a mural for our art exhibition. It was like she poured all her heart into it, he recalled, staring at her unfinished piece displayed in the art room. Blank canvas now felt monumentally heavy. With every passing moment, it became evident that Mia's disappearance was leaning toward the possibility of foul play. The officer's gut churned as he registered the knot of raw emotion unfolding around. He understood the weight of responsibility resting on his shoulders. The fragile bond that held the community together was now fraying. Time was not on their side, and the search for Mia Roberts was just beginning. Crime scene. As dawn broke over Weston, the golden light barely penetrated the thick canopy of trees lining the path where Mia's bicycle had been found. Officer Simmons, now joined by lead detective Clara Bennett, prepared to comb through the site more thoroughly. Their mission was to gather evidence, no matter how insignificant it might seem. The area was awash in the sharp smell of fallen leaves and damp earth. Simmons looked down the trail. It was quiet now, but the echoes of a last known location for Mia reverberated ominously in his mind. The detective began delineating the scene with bright yellow tape, allowing for an organized search of the premises. "We'll need a full perimeter search," Clara instructed her team. Squatting to examine the bike, she noticed a scuff mark on the handlebar, a detail that suggested Mia hadn't simply dropped it. "It looks like there was a struggle," she murmured to Simmons. As they scoured the underbrush, Clara's focus sharpened on a patch of disturbed soil nearby. The surface was uneven, a few loose pebbles scattered like breadcrumbs. Her heart raced, the hairs on the back of her neck standing at attention. Kneeling closer, she traced the outline of what appeared to be fresh footprints leading deeper into the woods, partially obscured by the morning fog. Simmons knelt beside her, frowning as he took in the discovery. "Those don't look like they belong to Mia." Together, they documented every detail, knowing each element could piece together the puzzle. In the midst of their investigation, the haunting thought of Mia's family awaited news gripped them tightly. As Clara adjusted her cap and surveyed the surroundings, hope hung by a fraying thread. They had to find answers quickly because with every tick of the clock, the likelihood of finding Mia safe grew thinner. The early investigation. Within hours of the discovery at the crime scene, the Weston Police Department transformed its command center, setting up a makeshift headquarters in the town hall. Detective Clara Bennett, alongside Officer Simmons, gathered the team to discuss the emerging investigation. Tension buzzed in the air, intertwining with a sense of urgency. "First things first," Clara began, her expression steely. "We need to interview everyone who might have seen Mia. Last known whereabouts, any potential witnesses. We'll canvass the festival grounds, then move to the neighborhoods near the trail." Officer Simmons nodded, already reviewing a list of friends and classmates who knew Mia. They knew they had to start with her close circle. "Let's bring in her friends first. They might have more insight into her state of mind that night." By noon, Clara and Simmons found themselves in a small room crowded with Mia's friends, the walls thick with unease. Each young face revealed a mixture of fear and disbelief as they recalled their last encounter with Mia. Lisa, her best friend, recounted how they had been filled with excitement while texting different ideas for their evening at the festival. She was thrilled to see her crush. "Oliver," Lisa said, her voice quivering. "She talked about it all week. There was no way she would just leave without telling me." After hours of questioning, a consistent thread emerged. Mia had seemed distracted and a little anxious, though nobody knew why. One friend, Jake, mentioned a suspicious man hanging around the festival site. "I didn't think much of it at the time, but he kept looking over at Mia," he admitted, unease washing over his words. "Well, that's creepy." This revelation sent tension rippling through the room, and Clara felt the weight of the community's mounting anxiety resting squarely on her shoulders. She scribbled down notes, now fully aware that the thread of suspicion would need unraveling quickly if they were to find Mia before it was too late. The dead ends. As the days turned into nights, the search for Mia Roberts stretched on. Volunteer search parties, comprised of locals eager to help, combed the dense woods surrounding Weston, while Detective Clara Bennett struggled with the slow trickle of leads. Moments of hope dwindled, often replaced by dead ends that echoed loudly in their hearts. Clara found herself in the police station, surrounded by maps and notes strewn across the table like a chaotic tapestry. The report of the suspicious man at the festival felt like a glimmer of hope, but initial leads yielded little. The security footage from that night was grainy, blurry faces blending into the crowd and making it impossible to pinpoint a suspect. As Officer Simmons returned from a promising lead regarding a potential sighting of Mia in a nearby town, he dropped heavily into a chair, frustration evident in his posture. I spoke with the diner staff where she was reportedly seen, but nothing came of it. A lot of people passed through that day. Nobody noticed anything out of the ordinary. Clara rubbed her temples, exhaustion setting in. And what about the man from the festival? She pushed through the tangle of uncertainty. Did anyone recognize him? No one could give us anything concrete. Just a vague description. It's like he vanished into thin air, Simmons replied, defeated. Amidst mounting pressure from the community and mounting anxiety within, Clara and Simmons threw themselves into the phone records of Mia's friends, looking for anything that could lead them along a new path. It was like chasing shadows under the shroud of darkness. As they revisited every angle, Clara felt increasingly trapped, suffocated by the enormity of what loomed ahead. Time was slipping away fast, each moment inching them further from finding Mia alive. Every tick of the clock felt like a haunting reminder that they were at a precipice where hope and despair danced an uneasy waltz. A break in the case. It was nearing dusk on the 5th day of the investigation when Detective Clara Bennett received an unexpected call that shattered the oppressive silence hanging over their command center. An anonymous tipster had contacted the station, claiming to have seen a girl fitting Mia's description near an abandoned cabin on the outskirts of town 2 nights ago. Clara felt a rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins as she jotted down the details. The cabin, a weathered relic that whispered of abandonment, stood at the end of a long, winding gravel road, hidden among tall pines. Time was ticking. They had to act quickly. Gathering Officer Simmons and a tactical team, Clara prepared to leave immediately. The sun dipped behind the mountains, casting an ominous shadow over the landscape as they approached the cabin, anxiety bubbling under the surface. The wind rustled through the trees, and every eerie creak of the old structure reverberated in the stillness. As they secured the perimeter and crept toward the door, Clara's heart pounded, a cacophony of doubt and hope thrumming in her ears. They knocked, declaring their presence, Weston PD. If anyone is inside, come out with your hands raised. Silence enveloped them. The only sound, the muffled crash of branches. Clara's instincts screamed that they were close, but with each passing second, the fear of what they might find clawed at her conscience. In a tense standoff, a rustle echoed from within, and Clara's pulse quickened. "Search," she ordered. Just as they prepared to breach the door, it swung open, revealing a disheveled man with a wild look in his eyes. "Get away from here!" he shouted, his voice laced with panic. Clara exchanged a knowing glance with Simmons as the suspect lunged back into the dark interior, leaving the team no choice but to pursue him. The race was on, and hidden within that cabin might be the answers they desperately sought, and perhaps the chance to save Mia Roberts. The suspect, as the tactical team stormed the cabin, Clara's heart raced. The suspect, that frenzied man, disappeared into the shadows, just out of reach. The wooden floorboards creaked ominously beneath their feet as they entered, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Dust motes floated like ghosts in the beam of light, thickening the atmosphere with a sense of foreboding. "Cover the exits!" Clara barked, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surging within her. They fanned out, hearts pounding in unison, keenly aware that they were in the territory of the unknown. Simmons flashed his light toward a half-open door at the back of the cabin. "I think he went this way," he shouted, leading the charge. Clara followed closely, feeling the urgency cloud her thoughts. In this moment, capturing the suspect was paramount, not only for the sake of the investigation, but for Mia's safety. As they descended a narrow staircase into a dark basement, a sense of claustrophobia enveloped them. The air was thick with the odor of mildew and something more unsettling, a raw, primal fear. The team spread out further, moving cautiously through the cramped space, their breaths echoing off the damp walls. "Drop your weapon, chauffeur!" Clara shouted, but the only response was silence, heavy and oppressive. At the far end of the room, Simmons suddenly spotted movement. In an instant, he lunged forward, tackling the figure to the ground. A scuffle ensued, grunts of struggle resonating against the damp concrete as Clara moved to assist. With swift teamwork, they restrained the man, cuffing his hands behind his back. Breathing heavily, Clara took a moment to assess him. The man was disheveled, with wild hair and vacant eyes, panic etched in his features. "What did you do to Mia?" Clara questioned, an intensity burning within her gaze. But all they received in return was a blank stare, as if the man was lost in a world of his own. What secrets could he hold? It was now up to Clara and Simmons to dig deeper into the warped mind of a potential suspect, for within his silence could lie the key to Mia's fate. The trial. Months passed as the search for answers transformed into the grueling reality of a courtroom trial. The once bustling streets of Weston were now starkly quiet, the community holding its breath as they awaited the proceedings that would finally expose the truth behind Mia's disappearance. In the weeks leading up to the trial, the town had rallied around the Roberts family, nostalgia for Mia woven deeply into the fabric of their shared sorrow. Their community garden where she used to play, the mural she painted, even the corners of the festival ground they had packed together, all of those memories now bore a weight neither joyful nor light. Inside the packed courtroom, Detective Clara Bennett sat behind the prosecution, her heart racing as the sound of the gavel resonated in the air, marking the start of a saga that could either deliver justice or leave questions unanswered. The defendant, a disheveled man named Isaac Carr, sat shackled at the table, his demeanor alternating between defiance and despair as the trial unfolded. As the prosecution presented its case, witness accounts from Mia's friends to the frantic calls made to the police painted a vivid tapestry of events. He was the last man seen near the festival, exhibiting behavior that raised alarms in a community that prided itself on safety. As Clara took the stand, she recounted the critical moments leading up to Mia's disappearance. "We found his DNA at the crime scene. It was collected from a piece of fabric caught on a branch near the cabin," she stated, her voice unwavering, despite the weight of the room. "The evidence leads directly to him." Defense attorney Derek Mason countered with an argument steeped in doubts. "But no body was found. You have circumstantial evidence, and while that raises eyebrows, it does not prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. With each cross-examination, the tension mounted. Clara felt the palpable frustration in the air. It seemed the pursuit of justice was a treacherous path littered with obstacles. As jurors deliberated, the courtroom held its breath. Outside, Laura Roberts stood with her friends, arms wrapped tightly around herself, eyes pleading. She could practically feel every tick of the clock. The fight for justice for her daughter lingered on the precipice of possibility. Would Mia find her voice in the echoes of the courtroom, or would the truth remain buried beneath the surface, forever out of reach? The aftermath. When the verdict was finally read, the words hung heavy in the air. Definitive guilty reverberated through the courtroom, and a collective gasp from onlookers filled the space. Clara watched as Mia's mother, Laura, crumpled into her husband's embrace, tears cascading down her cheeks, a mixture of relief and lingering despair. Justice had been served, but it would never bring Mia back. Would never bring Mia back. As the courtroom cleared, Clara felt an unsettling mix of triumph and sorrow wash over her. With the evidence secured and Isaac Carr sentenced to life in prison, she knew their community could finally begin the healing process. Yet, the reality remained that Mia was still lost to them. The painful absence echoed through the streets of Weston, where whispers of her artistry and laughter replayed helplessly in the minds of those who knew her. In the weeks that followed, Clara became a figure of solace for the family. She attended memorial gatherings, each moment drenched in nostalgia and heart. Townsfolk painted a mural in honor of Mia depicting her smiling, surrounded by her favorite things, a bright sun illuminating her spirit. It became a gathering point, a place where memories could be shared, where flowers and letters were left in her memory. Yet for Clara, returning to the routine of her job felt different now. The cases that came across her desk weighed heavier than before. The rawness of Mia's story sat with her, marking the sharp edge of her journey through law enforcement. She found herself spending late nights poring over cases, shaping herself into a beacon of hope for families still searching for closure. One afternoon, as Clara gazed into the depths of the mural's vibrant colors, a little girl tugged at her sleeve. "Are you a detective?" she asked with wide, curious eyes. Clara nodded, kneeling to meet her gaze. "Yes. I try to find people and keep them safe." With a small smile, the girl said, "You found Mia, right? She's happy now." A flicker of warmth crossed Clara's heart, and she couldn't help but smile back. "Yes, she is." In that moment, a flicker of purpose ignited within her. While the path forward was still fraught, the bond of community and the determination for justice would guide her. Mia's story would not fade. It would become a call, not just for remembrance, but for resilience, echoing through the town as a reminder that they must continue to protect their own, nurturing hope in a fragile world. Reflection. As Clara Bennett sat in her quiet office, the hum of the ceiling fan barely reached her ears. The case of Mia Roberts had unfolded like a turbulent storm, and now that the rain had ceased, a different kind of silence washed over her. It was a reflective stillness, a moment to process the enormity of what had transpired, not just for Mia and her family, but for the entire community of Weston. In the aftermath of Mia's case, Clara often found herself revisiting the memories of that fateful autumn day. The town had come together in grief, a unifying force in the wake of unspeakable loss. Each face she passed now held a shared history, a bond etched with sorrow, resilience, and a determination to honor Mia's memory. Yet, Clara also felt the weight of responsibility. The questions surrounding cases like Mia's would never truly disappear. They were woven into the fabric of the investigations and haunted the nights spent sifting through details behind call logs and witness statements. Every unsolved mystery was a simmering wound, a solemn reminder of lives turned upside down, dreams interrupted, and families left reeling. As Clara leaned back in her chair, she scribbled a few lines in her notebook, a practice that had always provided clarity, a blend of reflection and resolve. "We must keep searching for the voices gone silent," she wrote. "Every person matters. Every story deserves to be told." With every case she took, Clara vowed to channel the lessons learned from Mia's disappearance, aiming to provide a sanctuary for families in turmoil. Giving a voice to the silenced was her mission. As daylight waned and shadows cast long across her desk, she understood that while the past could not be changed, the future remained unwritten, waiting for someone to fill the empty pages with hope.